Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here, got another Master Duel video for you, coming at you with branded Dracotail deck primer. I'm going to start this video with the 1-card combo for branded fusion. Well, 1.5, of course, you'll always want any other monster card in hand. If you want to see the combo lines for opening Dracotail starters, check out my dedicated combo guide linked down below. But for this, we're going to begin by opening our branded fusion and activating. We're going to summon Albion the Branded Dragon using Dracotail Brsaskdown, which is actually a light Dracotail monster that we are not playing in other builds, but we play it here because it is a light monster. We're going to fuse that with the ALBAZ in our deck in order to summon Albion the Branded Dragon, as mentioned. And now we can activate the effect of our Dracotail Brsaskdown. We're actually not going to activate Albion's effect because we need our monsters to stay in the graveyard. And we're going to set Ketu Dracotail to our field. We're going to activate Ketu Dracotail. Now, there are a couple of different things you could add here. If you want to play around Joel and Lockbird, you're better off adding Dracotail Malulu, and then you could normal summon it and just go into your combo line for a Dracotail Malulu plus any monster card. Or even better, if you have a Dracotail monster already in your hand, I think that works out just fine. Again, those combo lines are going to be in my dedicated Dracotail guide linked down below. But if you want to do a different combo line, we can add Lucius instead. Keep in mind this does play to Joel and Lockbird a little bit more, but you can then normal summon Lucius and then activate in order to add Dracotail Flymena from your deck to your hand. Now we can discard the Flymena, which will let us summon Secretarian Dragon. We're actually going to be summoning this on turn 1, and it's a floodgate effect for dragon and spellcaster monsters on the field, which is going to be happening quite a bit actually because of the mirror match. So we're going to fuse the Lucius and Albion the Braided Dragon that are on our field, and again we're going to summon the Secretarian Dragon. Now we're going to activate the effect of Dracotail Lucius and set Raku Dracotail from our deck face down. But again, let's pretend that we don't have any Dracotail monsters in our hand, and that everything in my hand is off engine. What we can do is we can activate the effect of Secretarian Dragon. I'm going to target the Dracotail Brsaskdown, or however you pronounce it, and then the Fallen of ALBAZ as well. We're going to summon the Dracotail, and then put ALBAZ back into our deck. That not only reloads ALBAZ for future branded fusions, but now our Dracotail Brsaskdown effect can activate, which will special summon Dracotail Flymena, and then we can bounce it back to the hand. Now we can activate our Raku Dracotail, summoning Dracotail Golemel, and we're going to be using the Flymena that we added back to our hand, as well as an Orgola from our deck. We'll summon that right here. And now we can activate our 2 Dracotail effects in order to set 2 of our Dracotail trap cards from the deck. Now, in this build, I'm actually also playing Dracotail Sting, which I wasn't in other builds. It's actually pretty good against the mirror match. You can target a monster or a spell trap card in your opponent's graveyard and banish both of them. Of course, it's good against certain other matchups as well. But I still prefer setting Horn and Flame first, because they tend to be the most generally useful. Now, of course, we're going to activate our Orgola effect, returning the Flymena to hand. And there you have it. So this is pretty much the same as the turn 1 end board for, opening our Dracotail starters. But we not only have the 2 trap cards, Golemel and Flymena in hand, we get the Brsaskdown on field, and instead of Arthelion, we have Secretarian Dragon, which again will cause it to, or our opponent rather, it'll cause our opponent to not be able to activate any of their dragon or spellcaster monster effects. So, it is actually a pretty solid end board for opening Branded Fusion. I gotta give a huge shout out to Moha, as always the GOAT, who I found this combo line from. So, now that I've shown you the line that's unique to Branded Dracotail, I'm going to show you some gameplay with branded Dracotail. So we're going to begin with a going second game against Floowandereeze. This is going to be an example of how branded cards can help you play through stuff that Dracotail might normally not be able to push through alone. So we're going second here. Opening the Ash Blossom. I'm going to actually end up using it against the Pot of Extravagance because I kind of assumed I was playing it stun here. And the Shifter was like, okay, it still could be stun. Either way, the Dimension Shifter is obviously going to be pretty bad news for a Dracotail because obviously all of the effects are if this card is sent to the graveyard as material for a fusion summon. And of course, Arthelion can only add cards from the graveyard back to hand. So against a pure Dracotail deck, or even in a lot of cases Magistus as well, you know, the D-Shifter is enough to end the game by itself. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to Lucius for Malulu, and then I'll drop the Branded Fusion. Our opponent's going to chain the Fulos, but thankfully we have Crossout Designator here. So really, it all comes down to Branded Fusion. This game gave me enough plays to give some amount of push through whatever my opponent had. So yeah, I mean, they're going to surrender it right then and there. We did also have the ability to find mana fuse on both our turn or our opponent's turn, but of course it would have banished all of our stuff. But that's important to have in mind for disruption going into the opponent's turn. Here with Branded Fusion, I mean, I don't know. I guess we could have gotten the Lubellion and then fused into Mirror Jade, right? Lubellion, the Syrian Dragon, discard, and then activate to put stuff back from banish to summon. Yeah, Mirror Jade, I think, would have been the best thing to summon off Branded Fusion there, given that we know we can't OTK, and we want to have some disruption going into our opponent's turn. Thankfully, they would have been in top deck mode, but we still need to be ready for their plays. Anyway, that's a very brief going second game. Let me show you a much more back and forth game. So this is going to be a going first duel against Labrynth, and here we're going to end up getting drawn into Control's grind game, but I'll show you how we can outpace even a deck like Labrynth. Going first here, obviously not ideal to open ALBAZ with the Branded Fusion, but it does still work as a starter, so I'm going to go ahead and fire that off here. Summoning the Albion by sending the, of course, Phyrexil from the deck to the graveyard. We're going to activate that and not the Albion. Setting Ketu, I'm going to activate Ketu Dracotail, and I'm actually going to add the Lucius. I'm not concerned, well, two reasons why I added Lucius here. One, I have call by, so I'm not really concerned about playing around Droll. I can call by it if they have it. Two, I don't have any other monster cards in my hand, meaning that I wouldn't be able to make plays with Malulu if I added it, because I wouldn't have anything in hand to fuse with. Also, the other reason I'm not really worried about Droll in this scenario is that I have Rahu Dracotail in hand. So even if I got Drolled and didn't want to call by it, I could still activate Rahu Dracotail and use the Lucius from my hand as a material. But we're going to normal summon Lucius, add 5 mana, and then activate Rahu, sending 5 mana from hand and or Gola from deck in order to summon Arthelion. Now I'm going to go for the Arthelion effect. I can set off both my monsters here. Now, as you can see, I'm doing it in a little bit of a different sequence than what I showed on the combo line because I'm making use of the fact that I opened a Rahu Dracotail as well. So now I can activate 5 mana, and now I'm going to fuse Lucius and Albion into the Secretarian. Lucius effect activates. I can set Ketu because I already have Dracotail Horn in my hand. Secretarian revives Phyrexil, puts back the Fallen of ALBAZ. I can add back 5 mana, or summon back 5 mana and then add back. And then Orgola can add back the Lucius. Set a couple, add a follow-up Branded Fusion. And then end phase, my opponent's going to go Stovey, discard another Stovey to set Big Welcome. So yeah, basically here, I got a little more advantage by making Arthelion instead of Golemel. But not being able to pop cards is actually going to matter here. If I had known my opponent was on Lab, I definitely would have made Golemel instead. That way I could have popped the face down card potentially during my end phase. But, okay, so a lot of things just happened in sequence there, right? They activated Big Welcome, or they set 2 cards, normal summoned the Stovey. Activating Big Welcome, obviously intending to bounce a Stovey and summon something else. So I used my Dracotail Horn to bounce their Stovey. That way, they would have to add back whatever they summoned, which ended up being Ku-Klok in this scenario. Now that their Stovey in the graveyard is trying to summon, I'm going to activate Sting, banishing not only that Stovey, but also Big Welcome from their graveyard. And recycling the Horn. Okay, they're gonna activate Coup Clock. I'm chaining ALBAZ, so they can't use either of their face down cards. Plus, also, I don't want the Coup Clock to recycle itself. It would be very annoying, so I'm gonna get it out of rotation here. And then they're gonna go Stovey effect, sending Backjack, and setting Big Welcome. Backjack effect lets them stack. And then we're gonna go for Phymena effect during the end of the main phase. I'm gonna fuse Malulu and Secretarian to summon Chaos Star Source Dragon. This will let me pop the card I know to be Big Welcome, as well as one of the other remaining face down cards. We can even set Rahu off the Malulu. And if you look here, we actually popped not only the Big Welcome we knew about, but a regular Welcome Labrynth that was also face down. Huge moves for us. Huge moves for us there. Our opponent's got one remaining face down card. Going into my turn here, my opponent's going to activate Backjack during the draw phase, setting Trap Trick. But they're not done yet. They're going to activate Trap Trick and then chain Banquet of Millions. So I have 11 cards left on my extra deck to their 15. They're going to banish 11 of their 15 to banish my extra deck until the end phase. Now, Trap Trick will copy Dogmatica Punishment. Or not copy, it'll set it, and then they can activate it right away. They're going to send Granguinal and destroy my Chaos Star Source. Now they can reset both Welcome Lab and also summon the Stovey Torby here as well. So they still definitely have a lot of grind game left in them. Gonna flip up Ketu to add a Malulu here. I'm just doing a little bit of deck thinning right now, using Lucius to add Phymena. And then, yeah, we're just gonna have to go into battle phase here. Arthelian battling over Stovey, Lucius and Freixel swinging in. Gonna set the Brain Diffusion as a bit of a bluff pass. Get my extra deck back, thankfully. But they do get to go Welcome Lab into Ariana here. Ariana effect in order to add Labrynth Setup, which is not a card I've seen a lot of Labrynth decks on. It lets them recycle their banished Labrynth spell or trap cards, of which obviously they do have at least one because I banished it. However, thankfully we still have the Flame face down, so I'm not concerned about that. During their end of main, I'm going to go Phymena effect, fuse into a Golemel, using Phyrexial and an Effect Veiler in hand. I should have used Effect Veiler, I should have used Cartesia, because they're technically still in their main phase and I could still use Effect Veiler. They're going to bounce their Ariana with Big Welcome. I'll set the Horn from my deck. They get to go summon Stovey, but then they just pass right back to me. Here's the setup. I'm going to chain Flame and negate it. And then that also lets me go Golemel to pop the face down card as well. During their end phase, they don't get to chain it. And it ends up being Dimensional Barrier. As soon as I pop that, they concede, because obviously they can't flip it and call fusion monsters now. Although, even if they could, I definitely still just had lethal on board. Well, they did still have the Stovey Torby in defense mode, but they'd also taken damage. I think they were at, what, 5,400? So, either way, I think we would have been fine. But definitely a very nice example of us outpacing a control deck. But let me show you some even crazier things that Dracotail can do. Okay, in this going second game against Ritual Beast, I want to demonstrate how Dracotail cards can not only act as engine plays during your turn 1, but also disruption during your opponent's turn 1. So going second, we have a really good hand here. We got Droll, we got Maxi. They're going to normal summon Rampengu, activate in order to banish and send. Then they're going to go emergency teleport. I'm going to chain Maxi to that. Draw off the E-Telly. They're going to fire off a Droll and Lockbird. So what I decided to do here is activate Phymena, fusing Lucius and my own Droll and Lockbird in hand in order to summon Dracotail Arthelian. Not to add my cards back, but to bounce their two monsters on board. It's really easy to overlook this sometimes or forget it outright. But yeah, this is not just for recycling your own stuff. Dracotail Arthelian can also bounce cards on your opponent's field or graveyard back to their hand. So by bouncing their two Ritual Beast monsters, they're not going to be able to make any plays. I can even set a Ketu Dracotail for follow-up. Sure enough, my opponent's forced to set one card and then pass back over to me. They're going to go for their statue here, the Angel statue, the continuous trap monster. But I'm going to flip Ketu Dracotail, and then I can fuse the ALBAZ in my hand with Arthelion on board, summon Dracotail Golem. Now when I normal summon Dracotail Lucius, I can activate Golem and destroy their monster and not have to worry about it anymore. At which point they'll just concede. So yeah, it's really easy to look at Dracotail's end board and be like, is it really that good? You know, it's not that much disruption, but it's not just the fact that the disruption is so layered. It's not just the fact that this deck is kind of immune to Droll and Lockbird. It's not just the fact that you can play so many different engines with this deck, but as you can see, your engine can act even as their own sort of hand traps during your opponent's turn 1, which is absolutely wild. Okay, let me show you my build here before we end the video. Alright, so here is my deck list for branded Dracotail. The main difference between this build and like the pure / Magistus build, obviously aside from the branded cards, is that in order to fit a little bit more engine in the main deck, I'm playing a little bit less hand traps. Not that fewer, but I think I'm on 12 instead of 14. And then in the extra deck, obviously, we have made room for a lot of the different branded monsters. Even though stuff like Lubellion and Albion Sanctifier isn't part of your turn 1 combo line that I showed, or the one you'll do most of the time, there's still really solid options to play under various circumstances. And as a result, they end up being pretty good. So another difference in the main deck as far as the Dracotail engine, as mentioned before, is that I am playing Dracotail Sting. Decided to try it out, and I mean, it's come up a couple of times. It's been pretty handy. You know, we saw that Labrynth game. The thing is, even if banishing a spell and trap card out of your opponent's graveyard isn't that useful, banishing a monster often is to a lot of combo lines. So I still think this card has a lot of value even in that regard. One thing I will say about my build is that I'm trying out 2 Cartessia, which hasn't really come up for me yet, but this card is very optional in branded Dracotail. Really, the only branded cards you actually have to play are the 2 branded fusion and the 1 ALBAZ, and that's it. You know, the funny thing is, I put off building this version of Dracotail because I just kind of assumed it would be doing more branded plays, and I'm not a very experienced branded player. So I wanted to kind of study branded a little bit more before going into the build. Then, again, shout out to Moha, who I saw their Dracotail combo guide, and saw the branded line was actually incredibly simple. So that's what then pushed me to then make this video. As always, again, shout out to Moha. But yeah, no, I think that this build is quite solid. So the big question is it actually better than Magistus Dracotail? And I want to do more playtesting with both before I can confirm. Branded Dracotail, I think, is better than Pure. I think it is better than playing King of the Swamp. I really like the different options you have, not only more starters, but also, again, you can go into stuff like Mirror Jade or Albion Sanctifier if needed. You have Cartessia as an optional extender, right? The quick fuse effect can special from hand after you activate Branded Fusion. But I think that Magistus Dracotail is a little bit stronger in terms of what it can put on the board, right? You've got the Zerora Fusion Monster Negate. You've got the Borreload Savage Dragon Omni Negate. That build makes spheres a lot more easily than Hero or Branded does. So I think it's a little bit of pros and cons. Right now, after only doing a little bit of playtesting with each, I'm actually kind of inclined to say I think Magistus Dracotail is slightly stronger than current Branded Dracotail. But this is still an excellent variant, and even if it's not the best, it is still one of the best decks in the meta right now. But that's going to do it for now. Let us move on to our outro so we can thank our YouTube members and patrons. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Thank you so very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video, which by the way is one of the best ways to support the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, take a look at the names on screen. These are folks who have been so generous as to either join as a YouTube member or subscribe over on patreon.com/Hexlex to support. There's also perks for doing so. If you would like to see YouTube videos early, as well as some exclusive videos that get uploaded to YouTube, but for one reason or another I decide not to publish, definitely go ahead and hit that join button to see content early, as well as some exclusive content. If you're looking for more exclusive content, over on patreon.com, I upload exclusive videos that are not posted on YouTube just about every single day. Whether you choose to subscribe over on Patreon, join as a YouTube member, or simply continue to watch, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. But for now, this is Hexlex. I am signing out, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.